Hello, welcome to John's Author Diary for the week ending November the 10th, 2019. I've had a busy week. I have been working on book 13 of the Ravenglass Chronicles. This is a book called Death. And so I've had a lot of fun writing that. It's going to be longer than the last book, so it's taken a bit longer than I would usually expect, but I've got about 3 more scenes left to write, so I should have that done on Monday. Really pleased with how this story's going. Really excited. It's been in my head for so long, and I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I am really excited about writing it, so it's good. It's also good to have book 12 behind me, so that is now out, and I had the most pre-orders for that on any book that I've done, so that's awesome. My Ravenglass box set as well, the books 1 through 11 box set, has been doing really well. It's had a orange bestseller tag on for over a month now, so that's pretty cool. Really pleased with that. I'm really pleased that the story is getting to lots of readers, because if you've been following along with this podcast, you'll know how much effort I've put in. So it's good that getting to more people now. So earlier this week, I was on the Great Writers Share podcast. Had a blast doing this. I've been friends with the presenter for a couple of years, Dan Wilcox. He's involved with Hawk and Cleaver, who do things like the Other Stories podcast and things like that. So this podcast is mainly aimed at authors, but you know, if you are interested, I do talk about a bit of detail about things that I'm into, like stoicism and self-discipline and stuff like that. So it might be interesting to you, it might not. So that's called Great Writers Share, and it's episode number 16, which came out on Friday. So I've been carrying on with Trudy Canavan's Black Magicians trilogy. This is the one that I said is completely fine. It's not mind-blowing or anything like that. It dawned on me exactly what it is. The issue that I had with the second book is that it's basically the story of Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy. Now imagine if that was the story, that was the whole arc, was just about the rivalry between a bully in a school and a character becoming a powerful magician. I think that's why I just felt that it lacked depth. And so I'm about halfway through the final book, and it's a bit better. Again, it's not brilliant, but I am enjoying it, so, I don't know. It's like, I've mentioned before how much I love authors like Gene Wolfe, who present you with puzzles as a reader and actually reward you for rereading. Now, this is just not there with this at all. This is the opposite of that. This is just nothing really beyond the surface, so it's fine, it's fun, but as I say, it's maybe not worth the 2.5, 3 weeks that I'll have spent reading this series. I'm reading another book in parallel to it. This is a non-fiction book, so I tend to usually read a fiction book and non-fiction book at the same time. And so usually this is something to do with research from a book, or sometimes it can be business books or just kind of psychology or philosophy books, self-help books, that kind of thing. So at the moment I'm reading a book called The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Now, a few weeks ago, I read a book called The Games People Play, which was all about transactional analysis. So this was a psychology book. I'd mentioned this on the podcast, so someone emailed me saying, oh, well, if you like that, you'll love this. So I'm reading that, and yeah, really good. Highly recommend this one. So this is just a kind of deeper dive into the reasons why people act the way they do, different kind of personality types, different tics and things like that. So it is fascinating. I think I mentioned at the time of reading The Games People Play that it did feel dated, and that I'm sure there'll be another book out there that deals with this topic in a bit more detail. And it does, so that's awesome. Really pleased to have been recommended that one. So I did have a, let's call it a hiccup, with my book, The Stoic Writer. So I submitted this to Amazon for a pre-order. So this is a book I've done that is for authors, and it's about Stoicism, which is basically the philosophy of people like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and Epictetus. And it's the idea that you are ultimately responsible for the way you react to things, that you shouldn't let other people's opinions affect you emotionally, you should be the master of emotions, that kind of thing. So this is something that I try to practice, and it's about finding ways to be a better person and live a better life. So I've been revisiting a lot of this stuff after what happened with my dad. And so I went through these texts and lifted quotes from them, and then wrote commentaries basically about the quotes and how they can apply to writers. And so when I submitted it to Amazon, because it does have all these quotes in, it's basically being flagged by its copyright check. Now, I'm usually very careful with stuff like this. And I thought, okay, this is a 2,000-year-old text. It's public domain. I didn't think about the idea of translation rights. So what this means is a book that I was going to put out there is now dead in the water. Now, there is a thing that I can do, which is basically to go and find the public domain versions of this text. So there are versions on something like Gutenberg or whatever. And when I do resubmit it, even though most of it is my own commentary, I would still be getting a lower rate of royalties because of it being classed as public domain. So my thought is, screw it. I will give this book away to authors. I've got some non-fiction books that I am going to release that don't have this format, so I'll probably give it away when I sign up for my newsletter or something like that. So that was a bit annoying because I did end up talking about it on the Great Road to Share podcast, and I think it was the night before he was about to put it on Patreon, and I sent him a bit of a frantic email and said, okay, look, I will edit the audio myself. I'll just get rid of the bits where I mention this book. So he sent me the audio. I got it back to him and did it. So it's a bit of a pain, to be honest. I genuinely think that this is a really useful book. I think it'll be a good book for writers and to help people with their mindset and things like that. But this situation isn't good. So regrouping, I'll have a think. Finally, I have been continuing to post stories on my Patreon. So at the moment, I am posting the new version of The Fool. So this is a prequel to the Ravenglass Chronicles. It's set about 6 months before the events of the series. So I'm posting that chapter by chapter. So they go up Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm also posting this author diary and also short stories and articles and things like that. So please do check that out. It's patreon.com/JohnCronshawAuthor. And if you do get a moment, please leave a review for this podcast on iTunes. I know that's something most podcasts ask for all the time, and it's something that I never ask. But if you could do that, that would be awesome, just to get this out to more people, because things like reviews are apparently really helpful for podcasters. So until next time, cheerio.